Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily here in the Peg. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis with you, and we continue the end of season review for the Winnipeg Jets today. Just in the last hour or so, we heard from Kevin Cheveldayoff, Scott Arniel, Captain Adam Lowry. So as we go through today's show in the next couple days, we'll continue the audio and recap of locker cleanout day, which certainly for everybody involved was earlier than they would have liked, but a very, very different tone this year than the one we got last year after the embarrassing quick exit to the Colorado Avalanche. Murat was down at Canada Life Center today. He's going to join us coming up at around the top of the 2 o'clock hour. Before then, we'll dive into some of the other players that we have heard from before Murat joins us. Pat Gregoire a little later on. We're going to get ready for the Charles Schwab today and check out the lines for the Oilers and the Stars over at Coolbet before the end of the program as well. But, while we get to the Jets, and that certainly will be a main topic for us on these next coming shows, you really do feel like spring is here. And unfortunately, it came earlier than I think for a lot of us, that your schedule changes. Planning on what you're doing, your week is so different without a schedule of games and a playoff series for the Stanley Cup playoffs for the Winnipeg Jets. But that did give plenty of Winnipeg sports fans a chance to get out last night. Goldeye's home opener, huge success, great win for the club. Awesome crowd, over 6,000 at Blue Cross Park last night, cheering on the Fish. And I got to tell you, those jerseys they gave away were a huge hit. You saw them all around the ballpark, and I'm sure we'll be seeing them all season long. And I got to tell you, I've never seen longer lines at the concessions than last night. Goldeye fans were ready to go for the opening of the season. They get to 5-6, a great win last night. They're back at home this evening for a 6:30 start, and then tomorrow, school day game, 11 a.m., before starting another series on the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that wasn't the only big sporting event happening in the city last night. Valor FC, our soccer team, who I would admit we have not talked enough about, that's going to change as hockey season for the Winnipeg Jets is over. But Valor was playing in the Canadian Championship, and on account of winning their last leg or last round, moved on to take on the Vancouver Whitecaps, who have been at the top of the table in the MLS all year. And it took an 80th minute goal by Vancouver to eke out a draw against Valor FC. Certainly the biggest result in the history of the franchise. So congratulations to Valor on what was a great, great night for them. I wish there was more time in advance to promote this and let people know that this game was happening. Obviously, the timing sucked because a lot of people always like to take an opening day at the ballpark. But you could argue this is the biggest club match that we've had since Valor was born. And it did fly under the radar in the hype of the Jets playoffs and everything else going on. So well done to the lads and Phil DeSantos and the staff on a great showing by Valor last night. But of course, Bomber training camp continues. Bombers are in action on Saturday, preseason already underway in the Canadian Football League, which is wild. And we'll be all over that as we continue moving forward post-hockey season here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. But end of the season for the Winnipeg Jets is still the big topic today. We'll hear from Kevin Cheveldayoff on Nikolai Ehlers' status and more, and talk about it with Murat as we come up. Listen, welcome to everybody in chat. Just before we bring in Michael Remis, who's had a bit of an issue of his own, trying to find his glasses, let me thank the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada. Everyone's been asking about when the next poker tournament is. We've locked it in next Wednesday. So a week from today will be our next edition. I guess we've always been calling it the Lock Shop Poker Series. We might be changing it to the WST Poker Series, but It's at Coolbet. Everyone that's played before will get you details and the link, how to sign up. If you enjoy playing online poker, join us 8:30 p.m. We're going to start it off next Wednesday over at Coolbet, and we'll have details over the next week. Also have to thank Princess Auto, Prairie Toyota Dealers, and Ben Moss, St. Vital Dental Center, Canadian Club, Manitoba Battery, Rollies Transfer, Aikens Lake and F Apparel, Princess Auto, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug, Boston Pizza, the Gold Eyes, Assiniboia Downs, Breezy Bend Country Club. We'll get to fans first, fan feedback, and of course, a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. Remis, what's going on? Are you rolling blind into this show today?
No, everything just looks a bit blurry. It's fine. I'll deal with it. I don't know. I shower right before the show. I put him down somewhere, and like the 5 places that they usually put him down, they aren't there. So they're clear. They're glass lenses, so they camouflage into the table. Sometimes there's there's not really thick frames. I'll find them. They're around.
I can't wait to find out where these things turn up and how.
Is the
right in front of you?
They're right in front of me. They're probably on this computer desk. I just can't see them. So I don't know. I got my wife to look. She couldn't find them. I don't know. They're in a pile of clothes somewhere. It's whatever. Well, I'm happy to do the show. It's fun. Jets exit meetings, a bit of a different tone today. We did have some conference final action last night. Not really a close game, unfortunately. And you mentioned the Gold Eyes. Congrats on sounds like the season opener, a big success. Gave away some jerseys, lit off some fireworks, got a big win. So we're here. It's spring summer season sports. And what's up, chat? I can't read the chat. It's all blurry right now.
The moderation might be difficult today. Don't take advantage of it, folks. With Barry.
Yeah, be careful out there.
Our chat is always. Very
I can't even read it. So. It's straining my eyes too much.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, Gold Eyes game was great last night, and as I say, just an awesome turnout. Credit to Andrew and the staff, with that jersey giveaway for the opening game of the season. Brought a lot of people out. I saw a running man there. He made a point of coming down and getting a ticket and getting a jersey. Dan Jets fan. Issue Boy Bruce was there. So many WSTers, and it was great to see everybody there.
You know who else was there? From our Discord, listener Kev. And you know who he ran into at the game?
Who did he run into at the game?
Alex Iafallo and Vlad Nemestikov taking in the Gold Eyes home opener.
This is so cool. Grab that picture.
Here. Check out this picture. There they are. Rocking the Gold Eyes hats, too.
You know what? This just speaks to something about this team and those guys individually. But I can't possibly imagine players from the Jets, non-Winnipeg guys, being out at the ballpark 2 days after their season ended. And to see those guys rocking the Gold Eyes lids too, coming out to take it in. I mean, and listen, this is just great to see. Vlad, of course, with a 2-year extension. AI with a 3-year extension here in Winnipeg. And these guys are really buying into the city, to the community. I thought this was just great to see. And, shout out to those guys for taking in some of the other things our city has to offer. But also getting the lids, hitting the team store, supporting the local team. You got to love that, Reem.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I think, all the stuff that the guys say about being a family, being a team, like they're not just saying that, caring for the city, all the stuff. So I don't think it's BS. I think they do truly mean it. And you felt that. And you felt a connection to the team this season. I think part of it was the success, but I think part of it is the connection leading, the team camaraderie that they've built, the team culture leading to the success they have. So it's a bit of a circle there. So that was pretty cool. And shout out to Kevy for posting that one in our Discord.
Yeah, no doubt. And shout out to AI and Vlad. Next beer's on me at the ballpark if we see you out there. But yeah, great night to start off baseball season. We'll have another nice night for a game, probably even better than last night for tonight's action. And Remis, I mentioned right off the bat, how about that result for Valor? Taking on the Whitecaps, who are at the top of the MLS West, 1 point out of first place overall in MLS with a game in hand. They come into Winnipeg, and the lads from the CPL step up and hold them to a 2-2 draw. And actually, with 10 minutes left in the game, we're up one.
Yeah, crazy. Valor, they have not had a lot of success since coming into the league. And to be playing the Vancouver Whitecaps of MLS and hold them to a draw in the Canadian Championship, very, very cool, Huss. So happy to be on top of the Valor. Nice to have some good news there from the soccer.
Yeah, no doubt. So that was what was happening on the local scene last night. And of course, in the meantime, while we were at the ballpark, was sort of paying attention to the opening of the NHL's Conference Finals out in the East, the Carolina Hurricanes welcoming in the Florida Panthers. And Remis, I thought last night was going to be the night where the Canes finally won a game in the Conference Finals. You know, we were talking a lot about streaks and the Jets with that road losing streak. The Canes have now lost 13 straight games in the Conference Finals. They have been swept 3 straight times. They were at home against a team that had just gone the distance and had a one-day turnaround, and it still wasn't the right situation to get a win against Florida. I mean, I'm a big Brind'Amour fan. I mean, like, I don't watch a ton of the Canes. They're a crazy, relentless team. They do play their system, as well as maybe any do. I'm just not sure they've got the horses to take out a team like the Florida Panthers. And we saw they were frustrated. Gostisbehere smoking Marchand with the puck at the end of the game last night. Him going after it. But that seemed to be the perfect opportunity for the Canes to get a win. And yet, once again, Florida with a comfortable victory.
Yeah, Carolina, they were, second in the Metropolitan Division, and to continue this losing streak in the conference finals has to be extremely disappointing. Carolina, the rested team. Florida just finished the Game 7, and when Florida gets that first goal, they can really come at you hard. We saw that yesterday, and it does feel like we're on a bit of a collision course for a Stanley Cup final rematch here, reminding me a lot of what Pittsburgh and Detroit in the late 2000s. Will McDavid get his, like Crosby got his in the rematch? But Carolina, I don't know, Freddie Anderson, they had some solid goaltending. They get the first one, and I don't want to say the ball kind of kept rolling there for Florida. So they have the experience. They have the strong play that you need in the playoffs, and credit to them for coming off a Game 7. You could have had, they're tired from a Game 7 narrative. There's a bit of a letdown. But no, they came hard, and they're up 1-0, and chance for a repeat.
Let me throw this out to the chat right now. And again, Pat's going to come on from Coolbet a little later on. We'll kind of give our thoughts on the conference finals, and Scotty Scheffler looking to run away at the Charles Schwab Classic. But why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray? To all of you in the chat, who wins the Western Conference Finals? Is it the Edmonton Oilers, or will it be the Dallas Stars? Stars with home ice advantage. Game 1 tonight at American Airlines Center in downtown Dallas. Are you taking the Oilers, or do you think Dallas gets over the hump in the conference finals and gets back to the Stanley Cup? We've got the poll up right now. You can vote on it. Remis, what about you? Where are you at on this series?
I think Edmonton seems to be rolling. They've got the goaltending figured out. If Stuart Skinner can keep playing well, the one thing that gives me confidence in the Oilers more so than last year is the goal differential without McDavid and Draisaitl on the ice. Credit to them for managing Evander Kane's injury so he could come back for the playoffs and not have that salary count against them in the regular season. He's contributing. Zach Hyman saved himself for the playoffs here. Corey Perry contributing. Trent Frederick. They've got a good roster of bottom 6 players that are scoring goals for them. You saw Kasperi Kapanen with the win in the last series. They weren't getting that before. Their bottom 6, not great. And if they can get Matthias Ekholm back, he is skating. They said won't play in Game 1 or Game 2, but you never know, Huss. That would be a massive, massive boost. So I really like Edmonton again. Hard to bet against McDavid and Draisaitl. And we just saw Dallas. They weren't getting a ton from their depth scoring. They got the big games from Granlund and Ranton, but where was Wyatt Johnston all series? Where was Tyler Seguin other than in the penalty box? They're going to need those guys to score goals against Edmonton, who's just coming off back-to-back shutouts here.
Yeah, listen, I mean, the Jets were the best defensive team all year, and I thought they did a really good job at 5-on-5 keeping Dallas in check, especially, lines not including Rantanen and Granlund, along with Rupi Hintz. The Oilers did a lot of that in round 5. I don't think the Oilers defensively will ever be confused with Winnipeg. But then they've also got two of the best players in the world that just about no team in the National Hockey League can match up against. As good as Rantanen is and Hintz and those guys, I mean, McDavid and Draisaitl feel like they are and it can be at another level, which they really weren't in the first round against the Vegas Golden Knights, and they didn't have to be. Everyone was contributing, and that's a really good sign for Edmonton moving forward. While we're at it, let's see what everyone has to say about this. Let's do fan feedback for fans first. Your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. And while hockey season is over, you will be able to utilize Fans First for both buying and selling Winnipeg Blue Bomber tickets this upcoming CFL year. No fees. What you see is what you pay. Check out the site today over at fansfirst.ca. All right, the Oilers are at 58% in the poll right now. But we've got some pretty good shots. Knoxville and all caps Kyle are on Edmonton. Bobby B, Dallas Pauls, Bullish Bradley, all on the Stars. Phyllis is on the Oilers. Reggie Dunlop and Jeff Coldwell are on the Oil. Pepper and Tyson are on Dallas. Now, the Angling Oracle says Dallas will do it if Ottinger stays in form. To me, Remis, if Dallas is going to win, Ottinger is going to have to be not just the better goaltender, but probably one of the best players in the series, unless Stuart Skinner really falls off. And if the middle six of Dallas starts scoring goals, which they were unable to do against the Winnipeg Jets. I don't know. I just feel much like Florida last year, getting to the finals, not getting it done, and then coming back the next year and winning. It kind of feels like this Oiler team has figured it out. They've got the experience, and it's time for them to do it. And if I had to make a bet right now, I think I kind of feel like the drought since '93 of no Canadian teams winning the Stanley Cup might very well end in about a month.
Yeah, who better would be to end it than Connor McDavid? We remember the clip last year of behind the scenes, dig in. They know what it takes. They've been waiting all year to get back to this. I'll never forget Draisaitl's quote at the preseason saying, hey, we just played in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. This is preseason hockey we're talking about here, and their lack of enthusiasm in the preseason. So they've been playing for this all year. They're ready to return. They know what it takes. And for Dallas, they've been here the couple years in a row now. So can they get over that hump that is Edmonton? Going to be very tough. We've seen what Connor McDavid can do. Leon Draisaitl, those guys very tough to stop. They're going to need to, I guess, special teams is going to be huge again, and goaltending as well, as it seems to be in every playoff series, but especially here.
Again, great stuff from everyone in the chat and on the poll. Fan feedback brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. The poll is at 60%. And when I look at the odds at Coolbet for Edmonton, Dallas, Edmonton's minus 119, Dallas is minus 101. The implied probability of those odds, pretty much exactly where the poll is right now, right in and around 60% for Edmonton. I think that's fair.
That's funny. I like that, Huss. So, yeah, I think that's a good gauge of what you can expect going into this series. I'm looking at Money Puck that has a prediction for Game 1. They've got Dallas at 54.6% chance of winning. Maybe some value there on the home team in Game 1. But we'll see how Dallas looks. They just played 2 tough series against Winnipeg, which was 6 games, and Colorado went to 7. Edmonton's been waiting around for a week since Vegas. And we saw Carolina, how they looked against Florida. And will we see a repeat tonight? And I think for them, the biggest question is the goaltending. Stuart Skinner was great in the last 2 games against Vegas, but we've seen him be not great at times. He did get pulled for Pickard, in the opening series. So big question for them, can he keep it up? Now, we took them to Game 7 last year, so there's no doubt.
And did get pulled earlier in the playoffs as well, and then came back in and ended up going all the way to the end. But as I say, looking forward to that game tonight. Oilers and Stars, it's going to get underway just past 7 p.m., and we'll dive into the lines later on. But for tonight's game, Edmonton plus 110, Dallas at minus 130. We are going to transition to off-season chat with the Jets. Let me first thank Rolly's Transfer for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk and remind you that if you have a move coming up this summer, lean on Rolly's, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba, family-owned and operated for over 60 years right here in the Peg. Go to Rollies.com and hit that request an estimate tab and let them know. First of all, put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and then let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to be moved. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around quickly with a great quote for you and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that Rollies has been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all of your moving needs, make it Rollies, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more, request an estimate today over at Rollies.com. All smiles today. Once again, it's nice outside. We're moving on past the season for the Winnipeg Jets. And speaking of smiles, if you need to get your smile worked on, head on down to St. Vital Dental Center with our pal Dr. Terry and his wonderful staff. Their beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with fully state-of-the-art equipment and free parking conveniently located right behind the building. St. Vital Dental Center has been taking care of generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans. Can help you and your family for customers from 6 months old just getting teeth in to 99 plus with a wide array of services from cleanings, checkups, all the way up to more interesting surgeries like dental implants. Can tell you all about it, but nobody does it better than St. Vital Dental Center. For all your dental needs, tell them WST sent you. Find out more and make an appointment at stvitaldental.ca. Well, listen, summer weekends are here. May long weekend was a bit of a dud, but looks like it's going to be nice moving forward. When you're looking for a great summer drink, head on down to your Manitoba liquor marts this month and take advantage of the great deal on the club pack for the new Canadian Club ready-to-drink coolers. Of course, they've got the Canadian Club Ginger Ale. Now they've added the Canadian Club Citrus Smash and the Canadian Club Half and Half. I've tried all of them. They are wonderful, and they're coming in a 12-pack right now, providing great savings throughout the month of May. So head on down to your local Manitoba liquor marts. When you're looking for whiskey, look for the iconic Canadian Club, the original, the standard. And now for summer, just in time, is the club pack with the CC and Ginger Ale, the Citrus Smash, and the Half and Half, all on sale all month long at Manitoba liquor marts. And hey, speaking of summer, it's about time to get those boats on the water, get those campers out. You know what you need to do before you hit the road? You need to make sure you're powered up, and Manitoba Battery is ready to power up Manitobans for another summer of summer fun with the best prices on batteries, bar none, in the city, and the widest array of selection for literally everything that you need. Don't waste your time paying more at the big box stores. Shop local, go to Manitoba Battery, get the best prices and the best customer service as well, as Manitoba Battery will deliver those batteries to you for free anywhere in the city of Winnipeg with any purchase over $60. It's really a no-brainer. You're supporting local, you're saving money, and you're getting the best service around on batteries for literally everything. Manitoba Battery, Logan Avenue, the new location on Dovercourt Drive, and they'll deliver to you as well by ordering online at manitobabattery.com. All right, Reem. We got through some of yesterday's player reaction, I guess, to the year. Today, Gabe Vilardi, Adam Lowry, Cole Perfetti spoke, and then Kevin Cheveldayoff and Scott Arniel as well. But do we listen? I know people are talking about Nikolai Ehlers, and Ehlers is going to be the number one topic on this program and around Jets conversations for the better part of the next month and a half as we get to July 1st, unless something is taken care of before then. Do we want to play the Elliot Friedman clip just to kind of set this up?
Oh, sure. You want to play that from yesterday on the... So I was watching the game last night, and I like how they do this post-game. They have someone from the panel join Ken Reed and Ivanka, or yesterday it was Ken and Tim McAuliffe, and they start talking about the game, but I guess Elliot came on and started asking him about the Jets who just got eliminated. And they did ask him about, well, the big offseason questions. So they have to sign Ehlers, Velarde, who's the other one? Perfetti,
Sandberg?
RFI.
No,
sorry,
Perfetti's
Velarde, Sandberg, sorry. And Kyle Connor's eligible for an extension July 1. So here is Elliot on, this was their conversation yesterday.
Not only do you have to look at Ehlers, but they have 3 other big contracts they're going to have to deal with over the next year. And one is Sandberg, which I think they will get done. One is Velarde, and one is Connor. Connor can be extended in July 1st. Mm-hmm. So I know you're looking at Ehlers because he's the closest one, but you have to look at all 4 of them. Can they do all 4? That's a tough one. Also, like Ehlers, he didn't talk on getaway day. He went to Denmark and he's playing for them at the Worlds. I understand he's going to sit down and think about it. Here's the biggest question I have about Ehlers. When you look at them in the playoffs and minutes played 5-on-5, he was 7th among Jet forwards. Mm-hmm. Is he going to be okay with that? I think that's the biggest. Like the Jets fans, they know that one of the biggest questions about Ehlers is, does he feel he's always been given the best opportunity there to play on the top? You know, they have great players ahead of him. It's not like they're benching him for, not great players, because they aren't. But I think that's the one question I think people have is does Ehlers feel he's going to get a better opportunity to play more elsewhere? And I think that's the biggest question. I think they can get Sandberg done. I don't really have any reason to think that Velarde could be a huge problem. Connor, I think that just comes to where everybody's comfortable. I have no reason to think Connor doesn't want to be there, but it's going to be a negotiation. It's going to be a big number. Right. The one I have on Ehlers is, that's the one stat that was thrown at me, is that 7th in ice time 5-on-5 among Winnipeg forwards.
2-1.
All right, so there is Elliot Friedman. And, we'll hear from Kevin Cheveldayoff. I mean, the Jets clearly would love to keep Nikolai Ehlers. I think they'd love to keep all their players. Whether that is all possible, I guess, remains to be seen. Ehlers has been a huge part of this hockey club for 10 years. This is the one decision that he will have. It'll be entirely up to him. There'll be plenty of suitors as to where he wants to play, presumably the rest of his career. And for me, Reem, there'll probably be a team or two that you will be desperate enough or have the amount of ability with the cap going up and a younger team to give Nick Ehlers a lot of money. And I think the Jets will be able to put a lot of money on the table as well. But I think you could safely say that because of the cap situation here in Winnipeg, the other players that need to get signed, there might be more money elsewhere. To me, this is all going to come down to one thing. Does Nikolai Ehlers want to be a Jet for life? Does he want to be a part of this moving forward? And, does he feel like this is not only a home for him in the NHL, but a place that, he can win a championship and be a part of something special? And again, I do not know those answers, and I don't know what his priorities are right now. But as we've talked about, the way this team came together over the last couple of years, what they've been able to achieve, the unfinished business of it, I would argue that there's a better chance, and I've got a better feeling today of the possibility of keeping Nick than maybe mid-season or at the end of last year. But as Elliot just laid out, there's probably places that there might be more money and there might be a more high-profile position on the club that hasn't always been afforded Ehlers, despite many people, myself included, feeling like he probably is very much capable of a more primetime role.
Yeah, I think when you look at his, goal is points per 60, that's how efficient he is on the ice. He's one of the best on the Jets at scoring relative to ice time. So you would think, hey, let's give this guy some more ice time and get some more points. And he had never been on power play one at all in his time with the Winnipeg Jets. And finally this year, he gets on power play one, and they have the best power play in the league. So I think for him, how does he feel about that? Is he going to be getting that ice time moving forward? And as well, they don't really seem to want to put him ever when they're shuffling the lines on line one. He doesn't get a chance to play with Mark Scheifele ever, and you wonder, has that hurt his overall production and his earning power, and how does he personally feel about that? I'm not exactly sure. I can't speak for him, but on the flip side, he's developed friendships with all these players. He's been on the Jets his entire career. They've just finished off a season where they built on the previous year, winning a round in the playoffs. Does he want to continue that, or is he looking for somewhere else where maybe they would give him a bigger role? So I think it's going to come down to what they can offer him for. Is it ice time? Is it how much does money be a factor? I think there's a lot of things that he has to weigh moving forward, but I can see why Elliott is saying that. Hey, you look at his average time on ice and the opportunity here. I feel like they haven't really given him that much, and when he got that opportunity on the power play, well, he didn't have a career year in points. His career high is 64 in 82 games in 16-17. Well, he had 63 there in 69 games. So when you look at points per game, he's doing pretty well. And again, he's always on top of the leaders in points per minute played. So I'm curious what's going to happen. Yeah, this is going to be a huge topic here. Like, will Ehlers watch get into the, Trotz watch, get into Dubois drama? I don't know if we have a name for this Ehlers UFA, pending UFA, but we're going to have to come up with something catchy because it's going to be a daily topic here on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Yeah, so you could get the hashtag sign or re-sign Lars.
Sign Lars, yeah.
In the chat. I know Bruce has already jumped on that. But listen, I mean, there's a lot going into it. We haven't heard much on this at all throughout the year. It's been pretty unique, and now time for the rubber to hit the road one way or the other. Listen, we'll hear from Kevin Cheveldayoff in just a minute. Maybe we'll start off with there, and we'll hear his opening statement and his UFA status. I should mention that this segment, when we're getting into the coach and GM, is brought to you by Ben Moss. Ben Moss is proudly Canadian-owned and operated with history dating back more than 100 years. And Ben Moss has 3 locations in Winnipeg: Polo Park Shopping Center, St. Vital Center, and Kildonan Place. Committed to customer satisfaction, check out a large selection of Canadian mined diamonds, lab-grown diamonds, and mined diamonds available with payment plans to suit your need. For more information, check out benmoss.com. Ben Moss, because love is timeless. Yeah, I mean, the Jets didn't get their ring, but if you're looking to give out a ring sometime this summer, talk to our friends at Ben Moss down at Polo Park, St. Vital Center, and Kildonan Place. Let's start off with Chevy. He's the boss. We'll get to more players and Scott Arniel as well as we continue the afternoon. But here's the opening statement from Kevin Cheveldayoff today down at Canada Life Center in the Matt Frost Media Center.
A historic year in many ways, obviously for the franchise. Getting the President's Trophy is certainly something that we're proud of. But obviously, there's still work and steps to be done. I think as we go through the process of talking about some different things, you'll hear that and some common themes that were in the exits, with the players. as a coaching staff and management staff, we still need to get together and unpack a few things and digest a few things. So some of those things will we'll kind of unfold as we go. We may not have all the answers for you here yet because there's still lots of dissection that will go on, with us here. But again, to a man, everybody certainly was looking for more, and it's incumbent upon us to try to continue to try to take those next steps. So thanks.
All right, so there's Kevin Cheveldayoff with his opening statement. Now, what I think everyone is wanting to know is what's up with Nikolai Ehlers' status. We'll go 43 here, Remo, and then we'll get to Arnie and a little more Arnie and Chevy. Here's Cheveldayoff on the status of Nikolai Ehlers, who, by the way, was not here for exit interviews because he got on a plane ASAP to get over to his homeland of Denmark, hosting the World Championships, scored yesterday, and Denmark is into the quarterfinals. So congratulations to Nikolai Ehlers in Denmark, and I know there'll be a lot of WSTers pulling for Denmark as this tournament continues. But here's Chevy on the UFA status of Nikolai Ehlers.
Well, obviously he's at the World Championships right now. I talked to him the other day when he was going over. We haven't had the ability to sit down, with him like we had with the other players. Nino as well. Nino's over there, so we'll finish that process when they're done. I did get a chance. Nikolai's agent was in town here. We met probably for about 2 hours on, I don't know what day it was, the off day, Monday, I guess, when we had an off day, in those regards. So, we chatted. Obviously, Nikolai's been a player that's grown up in our organization, drafted, developed him, someone that we think the world of. We obviously went into this year eyes wide open that he was a potential unrestricted free agent. Players earn that opportunity, and when we get a chance, to talk to him, we'll put our best foot forward with him to try to make our case to be one of those guys that can be a unique Jet for life type player, and we'll see where it all goes there. But the relationship is great. And he did contribute to the success of this organization on many fronts, and we hope that that's something that can continue. And if he does choose to go in a different direction, then obviously as an organization we'll have to evolve, and as we have in the past with other things, and it'll be another opportunity for us to grow in a different area.
All right, so Chevy, interesting to note, Reem, that he spent 2 hours with Ehlers' agent on Monday, probably going through possibilities and frameworks of what a deal might make. You want to have the player involved, and because of how quick this turnaround was, going from Dallas to Winnipeg to Denmark, haven't had a chance to do that. And it's interesting to see people's takes in the chat on what they just heard from Kevin Cheveldayoff. Some somewhat optimistic that, okay, there's, obviously lots of communication. The relationship is good. But at the same time, when the GM puts out, they have to be prepared to go in another direction. You realize that this is far from a fait accompli, and there's a lot of work to be done before July 1st if he's not going to hit the market.
Yeah, I think it's positive that there was a meeting and it did last for 2 hours. So it doesn't mean it's zero. It's not like... Yeah.
I don't think the Mitch Marner conversation with the Leafs went for 2 hours.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think Mitch Marner had that conversation with the Leafs. So I think you got to feel good that, hey, they're trying to find common ground here, trying to see what that is. Maybe, you're close. You do take it to July 1 just to see what else is out there and you make a decision. He did say they're going to put their best foot forward. So they want to keep him. They want to sign him there. You heard all the players over the last 2 days saying how much they like him, how much he means to their team. And my question is, if you do let him go, who are you replacing him with? He's a huge part of the secondary scoring. Again, he was a huge part of the power play last year. What are you going to do to fill that hole? Are you going to get a player with that kind of speed? Are you going to have a winger? Are you going to try to find finally that second line center that you've been looking for so long? So I think just the idea of losing him, I think it would put them in a bad spot if he wasn't there. Just you've seen trying to bring that quality of player to Winnipeg in free agency, it's tough. So would they be looking at a trade? I don't know exactly, but I think you'd want to keep this guy just to keep that locker room together. They all seem to be such, so tight and such great friends. It'd be tough to let a guy like that go.
Well, and listen, I mean, that is obviously a big part of the team unit, which I think is a huge selling point for Winnipeg. But at the same time, I mean, if Ehlers is not around, completely changes the way the Winnipeg Jets top six looks. Like, we can talk about Ehlers not playing on the top line. Ehlers is the catalyst of that second line when he is out there. And, he's a player that I think has, had a huge influence on Cole Perfetti moving forward this year. And I'm not sure, with all due respect to Vlad Nemetstikov, who we love and was out at the Fish game last night with Alex Iafallo, I'm not sure that line would have been able to do what they did, with Vlad, who was maybe playing a little higher up in the lineup than was planned, without a player like Ehlers. And then the power play, the zone entries, all of the things that he does. That you just cannot replace that. Now, in the short term, you move another guy in there and you hope to maybe win a different way. But this was already a team, and Ehlers had bought into a team that, maybe sacrificed some offensive numbers to be a team that won back-to-back Jennings trophies. Wherever he goes, he's earned it. And I think that, unlike a lot of players in Winnipeg in the past, that if they decided to go somewhere else, although most of them seemingly wanted to stay. Like, I saw someone bring up Andrew Kopp the other day, for a guy that kind of wanted out. Well, he didn't want out. He wanted to sign here. But they spent all the money on other players and then didn't have the money for him and had to end up, allowing him to go to free agency. And he ended up breaking the bank with the Detroit Red Wings. But as we've said before, ask Kopp, ask Murat, ask Patrick Laine. The grass isn't always greener. And we haven't seen a lot of players that have left the Jets get to where they were before when they were with this club. And, maybe that's something that Nikolai Ehlers will think about as well. The bottom line is this is going to be a personal decision. There'll be a lot that goes in. The Winnipeg Jets should absolutely put their best foot forward, as Kevin Cheveldayoff said that they're going to do. And for Winnipeg Jet fans, you just cross your fingers and hope that, the connection that he's made with this city, with this team, what they've accomplished, makes him feel that this is the best place for him to continue and potentially finish his NHL career, as opposed to, chasing maybe a bigger number or a bigger role on a team that, isn't quite where the Winnipeg Jets are, with a whole new unknown dressing room. Let's hear from Scott Arniel. This is 41, Reem. Arniel, now with a few days to look back on the series against Dallas, the playoffs, and the season overall, he was asked if does he come away with maybe a lesson that he and his team has learned?
The 82 games for me, go over the course of the season, whether that's, your goals against average or your goal for, whether that's your power play, penalty kill, like you said, there's things that you do maybe analytically you're really good at, both with and without the puck. Playoffs are a different animal. The sole thing about the playoffs is you have to win games. And to me, whether we got blown out in a game like we did in St. Louis, or we got in a game, like Game 7, or we got into a game like we had in Game 4 down in Dallas, where it was a game that, in my opinion, we should have won. To me, it's the moments, like Chevy just mentioned, that the playoffs, you just win hockey games. Teams that have the best penalty kill aren't playing in the Stanley Cup playoffs, or may not be playing right now. There may be the best 5-on-5 team. There might be scenarios where that, when it comes to the playoffs, it's a different game, and all it is about is winning your series. It's winning those games, and however that comes about, whether you score 4 power play goals or your penalty kill does something, or you limit the other opposition to limited opportunities to be in your end of the rink. It's only about winning. It's only about winning. That Game 6 for us in Dallas, that was a game to be won. And you know what? We were one shot away from accomplishing that, and that's all that mattered. All we cared about was getting home for Game 7. And at the end of the day, I don't care what the analytics are. there's things that our staff, my staff, we will look at. We're going to go over, and we are going to look at so that we run into this situation next year, that we do score that next goal that wins that game, that gets us to win a series, to move on to the next round so that we can be playing tonight. But to me, there's the biggest thing, and it's what I've kind of stressed with our group all year long, is that you learn over the course of 82 to play at this time of year, because it is another animal. It's a different game, and there's lessons to be learned over those 82 games. There's things you have to do nightly during that time. But when you get into these playoffs, I think our group has learned a lesson. They've learned on both positive and a negative side of things what it takes at this time of year. And real proud of our group. We went through some really, really emotional, and I'm not talking about our last game. I'm talking about emotional things that happened prior to Game 6 in Dallas. Things that, just the emotional win in that Game 7, the downside of those games in St. Louis, us not being, at our best for Game 1 against Dallas in our building and gave them home ice. So there's a lot of things for me that happened over the course of this playoffs that are extreme positives. There's some things, again, that we're going to have to grill our group on and get better at so that we hit this again next year, that we're better prepared for it to have the outcome fall in our favor.
So there was Scott Arniel. And Reem, I hadn't heard that yet. You were putting that together while we were getting the show ready. I'm a little taken aback just at the passion that he had with the way he's speaking there. I mean, usually when you get 2-3 days removed from the end of the season, there's a level of reflection when the coaches are talking about it and they're looking about a big picture. Arnie sounds like he's still in playoff mode right now. And, that was, I don't know, what did you think about that? That was as interesting a coach speak we've heard 2, 3, 4 days after a bowing out in a playoff series that I can remember here. And that includes a guy that knew how to deliver a quote or two, and Paul Maurice, and of course, Rick Bowness as well.
Yeah, when I cut that clip, I had to double check that he was a 3-minute long clip. Usually, they talk for a minute and call it, but yeah, they feel like they should still be playing. They feel like they were right there with Dallas, and he went into it later saying the game that they're going to look back as the one that got away was Game 1 against Dallas at home, coming off.
We talked about that yesterday on the show. I mean, it really does feel that way looking back at that series now and how close those games were on the road that they weren't able to get.
Yeah, as much as you want to say they should have won Game 4, Game 1 was there, and he mentioned he knew that they were going to have an emotional letdown of the high of Game 7, and I said too, they didn't have Heiskanen. And early in the series, those were the games where they had to take advantage. He talked about chances where they could have scored late in that game, in Game 1, and they weren't able to finish. And again, that was Ottinger being that good throughout the series. I don't know if he was like Marc-Andre Fleury level in the 2018 Western Conference Final, but he stoned them a number of times. He even gave Velarde. He talked about chances that he didn't bury when he had the opportunity. So they all feel they have the team, that they were right there. It just couldn't get it done against Dallas. And it really, that was pretty interesting comments there from Scott Arniel.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, here's a little bit more from Arnie and Chevy. And these are their takeaways from the exit meetings with the players that have been taking over the course of the last 2 days.
The biggest thing we talked about, we just finished our one-on-ones with all the players. We haven't had it as an organization yet, but we got to talk to all the players. And the first thing we did is that we complimented them and told them how proud we were of the year we had, the things that we accomplished as a group. Just the fact that we won the President's Trophy, that we were consistent for 82 games, that we did all those things. We had individual players have career years, a lot of things that we had young players that matured and took a step forward. But you're right, we got here and we're not playing tonight. We're not playing Edmonton tonight. And we haven't achieved what we're all trying to achieve, and that's to win a Stanley Cup. And if you're not in this game to do that, I'm not really sure why you're playing, because that's why I'm here. That's why Chevy keeps doing it. That's why our ownership has a commitment that they do. It's the players. It's what our group, just listen to our players talk about how disappointed they are right now after all the great things that have happened, how disappointed they are that we're not playing tonight. And that's good to hear, but it also means we have a reset. Like last year, and like you mentioned, those other years, there was big learning, just learning what playoff hockey actually means. This year we learned it, we lived it, we grew through it, but it's our goal now is to win the Stanley Cup. Now we know we've done a lot of good things. Now we know what it takes. We still have more to do, and as a staff, as the players, these guys are all going home with that mentality, and we're going to follow up on this all summer long, so that when we get to training camp, that's part of our objective, is that we're watching these teams that are playing right now. These 4 teams have great experience at this time of year. And how did they get it? How did they get to where they are right now? To see Carolina, see Florida, see Edmonton, see Dallas. These guys have been here, and they've been here, and we just have to look in our division. Dallas has been here for a number of years now. So, so for us, we want to be one of these groups. We scratched the surface this year, and so it's now about what happens moving forward.
And I'll just, I guess, add a little bit to that. Sitting here last year at this time, obviously it was 2 weeks earlier, but we were in very different circumstances. Obviously, Bones had retired, and we were looking for the next head coach of the Jets, and I just sitting here going through the exits. Last year I went through the exits by myself. We had the management, and you're going through it. There's a lot of, I guess, questions by the players, like who's going to be the boss, who's going to be coaching, what kind of systems are we going to play? Are we going to mesh? And I think, the advantage that we have here is listening, with Arnie talking, like, we were fortunate to have Arnie here. He knew the players, he could develop a plan, but now he's coached them for a year. He's got, their levels of expectations of themselves. He's, the exit meetings really have just been put on pause. Like, the coaching staff, Arnie's going to have, one-on-ones with all these players during the summer that are much more extensive than the 15 or 20 minutes, that you have allotted for them, here today. So just that ability, not to try to get up to speed, but now to be up to speed, but push it forward, I think is an advantage for us this summer.
So there you have Kevin Cheveldayoff and Scott Arniel speaking, and I absolutely loved what I just heard from Scott Arniel. And Reem, I'll say this, Arnie came in, and let's face it, I think there was a lot of people that were skeptical, fairly or unfairly, about Arniel being that successor to Rick Bowness, and he'd had the one shot in Columbus. It did not go well. He'd been working for the better part of the next decade to get another shot, and that shot was here in Winnipeg. And at every turn, I think Scott Arniel proved himself that he not only was very much capable of the job, but truly was the right guy for the job. And listen, when you finish short of your goal, you look back and you lament what went wrong. But I mean, he is so dialed in, and to hear him speak like that, I mean, there's a real level of frustration that they feel like they are right there with these teams. And I mean, I get it. I get that from fans as well, knowing, how tight that series against Dallas was. You think about game 1, think about game 4, game 6, which went to overtime and could have gone either way. And you realize you're right there, but that often is part of the learning process. Falling short, like the Oilers did last year in Game 7 of the Cup final, like Dallas has done the last couple of years in the conference finals before, and see if you can get that next step. And man, that sounds like a coach that may be into off-season mode right now, but is still entirely consumed and focused on finally achieving the goal, and still being playing right now for his Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, Arniel, during these press conferences, seems like a soft-spoken guy, but you see him on the bench. He's intense. He's dialed in. Really, really wants to win. Believes in the team and believes in the city, and is showing that he is the guy to lead them. You mentioned was after the job in Columbus, was associate and assistant coach in New York for a number of years, Washington and Winnipeg, and with his experience with the players the last couple of years, it was a seamless transition from him. Maybe a couple tweaks here and there, but he was certainly the right fit. They made the right choice, had their best season in the regular season ever, winning the President's Trophy, winning the division. A lot of positives to look back on. Unfortunately, they didn't, reach their goal of winning the Stanley Cup, but they got past the first round, took Dallas to 6 games and really gave them a run there. And, if a couple bounces break their way, maybe they could be playing right now in game 1 against Edmonton. So I think there's certainly some disappointment, but they're going to look back on this year and see what changes they can make. And I'm curious to see how they come back, but it's definitely, I think we're going to be looking back on this season, in a couple of years being like, man, wasn't that fun where they were winning just about every game, being in first for the whole year. It was quite a ride, Huss, and it is unfortunate that it does feel like it's ending too soon.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, and I think, we'll get into the summer and, the bad taste of, the loss and just the emotion of everything that went around Game 6, obviously, with Mark Scheifele and his father passing. You get to the point where you look back and truly appreciate it. I mean, I can tell you, as someone that has season tickets and is not in the press box, that was sitting in the arena every game, I mean, the fun that it was to be a Jet fan this year and watch this team do what they did, it was special. It felt special, and you could really feel the building belief and support amongst the fan base in that building each and every night. And I mean, listen, Game 7 will be something that our generation and multiple generations of Winnipeggers will be talking about literally forever. And by the way, they're still talking about it in St. Louis because Blues fans, I'm not sure, are ever going to get over it. And that's why they're continually in our mentions 2.5 weeks after they've been eliminated from the playoffs and off to planning for the draft. So, well, listen, we'll hear from Adam Lowry and some more of the Jets a little bit later on, but Murat's going to join us in just a moment here on WST. Got to thank our friends at Princess Auto. And man, Princess Auto Stadium, business is picking up there. Of course, Valor FC playing the Whitecaps last night in a 2-2 draw. Bomber preseason action coming up, and the regular season just around the corner. Some big concerts at the stadium this year as well. So we're moving on from hockey season, but there'll be a lot of good times at Princess Auto Stadium. Of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsors of the Bombers, WST, and so much of our sporting community, the Gold Eyes, the Winnipeg Jets. Princess Auto is also a place where you might want to get to right now as we get into spring and summer, because that's where you're going to find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete that project on your list or start something new is waiting for you at Princess Auto. 3 Manitoba locations, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, Brandon. You can always shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. Well, fishing season is officially here. I was actually just down on the dock on the Assiniboia River yesterday, and 6 young guys had posted up with lines in the water, which got me thinking and even more excited about getting back to Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge this summer. Going to be a great, great one. And of course, if you're thinking about a world-class fly-in fishing experience where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg with world-class fishing and even more world-class hospitality from the Aikens team and the Turenne family, Aikens is the spot. Go to aikenslake.com for more information on availability and options for the 2025 fishing season. And make sure to check them out on all their socials at Aikens Lake. And a big congrats to our friends over at F Apparel. I joked that the post-game shows after home games on Winnipeg Sports Talk with Connor and Michael were just nice ads for F Apparel because of how good the guys looked. Of course, if you do need to up your menswear game, fellas, as we're getting into wedding season, get on over to F. Custom suits, custom shirts, chinos, golf pants, the best selection of menswear accessories. They've got you all covered. Best spot for grad wear as well. Need a new suit for grad? F Apparel will hook you up with a new shirt and tie for free for all 2025 grads. And of course, weddings are big. They're very important. You got to look good. Guys, if you're in a wedding party, make sure to talk to F about a great discount for all the guys when you get your suits for the big day at F Apparel. 190 Smith Street downtown. And you can check them out online and make an appointment as well at F, that's EPH, apparel.com. All right, let's welcome in our good friend Murat. Murat was hoping to be talking about the Jets and the Oilers this week, but it wasn't to be. How are you, my friend? Great to have you back on the show.
Hey, I am happy to be back on the show. I love chopping up Jets with you. I also had the sort of sense that, hey, you know what, if they could drag it back to Winnipeg for 7, there might be some Manitoba miracle yet to write. And it seemed as though, the Jets all seem to believe that as well. Scott Arniel said it again today. They really felt like if they could have done that, they would have won game 7. And of course, that's not what happened, ifs and buts and all that sort of stuff. But it was a special year. And man, I'm happy to be doing this with you again.
Well, I should intro, by the way, and mention that this segment is brought to you by our Prairie Toyota dealers. We need to remind you to get in and go with the Toyota Tundra. Quality that means it has the strength to take on any challenge, off-road or hauling a heavy load, and backed by the peace of mind knowing it's a Toyota. So take the road less traveled in comfort, room for teammates, friends, and gear. Can we talk about how good this truck looks? Everywhere it goes, the Toyota Tundra turns heads. Available now from $154 weekly for 60 months at 5.19% APR with $66.99 down. Hybrid available. Visit shoptoyota.ca. Murat, listen, I do want to get into what we heard today from Kevin Cheveldayoff and, kind of the feedback from the players that will be playing all week long. But I've always appreciated your way to look at sports and this hockey team and individuals maybe in a bit of a different way than a lot of people in the media do, and a lot of the fans as well. Take me back to Saturday, because while it was the final day of the Jets season, it's a day that I think we learned a lot more about the Winnipeg Jets, in the way that they went out, the way they supported Mark Scheifele. You, of course, were there covering. It's a day I think that everyone will remember where they were and how they felt going through it. I really wanted to know about you being there, hearing that news, and not only from a human standpoint, probably being really feeling for Mark, but covering the team in advance of a do or die game 7, of which one of their most important players ended up playing in the most difficult circumstances I can imagine.
Yeah, that is a day where I will never forget that one either. Even right before the morning skate media availability, before Kevin Cheveldayoff came up and gave us the news, something was different. Something was up, and I didn't know what it was. And then when Kevin Cheveldayoff and not Scott Arniel, none of the players were the one that stepped up to the podium in the tunnels there. Clearly something was going on, and then that's when we got the unfortunate news that it really shook a lot of people. And to think that Mark Scheifele was, back at the hotel and during that morning, probably on the phone with his loved ones, with Scott Arniel as well, who had gone back from morning skate. And, we didn't know the details at that point, how it had happened, why were they talking about the timing being a surprise, and just the idea that it was a really, there were a lot of questions, I guess. And then as the day went on, someone told me that Brad Scheifele had been sick, but it was just the suddenness of the turn that had sort of been a surprise to a lot of people. And you just feel for Mark Scheifele and the other people in his family, his other loved ones. And then I'd found out that they'd had a chance to even speak about it amongst themselves and kind of come up with a plan for like what would happen, and you just think what part of life do we ever have to make decisions quite so big? And to think that, well, what would I do if? And Mark Scheifele and his family sort of made that plan. They had to make that plan, which I'm sure was difficult. The thing that I think, one of the things that will stick with me the most is seeing him enter with his teammates before the game. We all went down there early. Scott Arniel was going to speak, I think 4:30 in advance of the 6:30 start, if my timeline is right. And so we were there early, and to watch one by one, the sort of solemn faces of the Winnipeg Jets in suits, and hey, is Scheifele there? Is Scheifele there? And then you see him, and he's, his face is downtrodden, and he's wearing his day on it, but he's walking like step for step beside Josh Morrissey, who now we know like how much Morrissey was there for him on Saturday as well. I mean, they banded together, they bonded together, they revealed the bonds that they have. And then that's before puck drop. Like, that's before you even get out there for warm up and you're watching him going like, how is he doing this? And you understand that, sometimes it's important to do the things that you know how to do and keep your day moving. But with that kind of pain, that was incredible. And it started to feel like it was like written, ordained, when he scored that goal and Winnipeg, oh my goodness, what could they do in this game 6? That was special. The post-penalty hugs were special. To hear them talk about it after was special. To hear Adam Lowry talk about just how badly they wanted that penalty kill. I'm in that room, and I don't know I can ever remember looking at players in the eye even before they spoke and feeling the change in my own tone, feeling my voice change, feeling all of that, because you can get a sense of the pain that they're in or the feelings that they're feeling before they've even spoken. And then Lowry talking about how badly he had wanted it, and Neil Pionk saying that was the most courageous thing that he'd ever seen. These are scenes from one of the, sadder and yet more revealing moments of Jets lore this year, that, hey, this is a group that cares about each other a lot, and a lot of people in that room have a lot to be proud of, Mark Scheifele most of all.
We hear teams all along, this team for a long, even dating back to when I don't think the room was very good at all, telling, oh, we're close, we're all that. Everybody says that. I think we learned game by game with what this team accomplished, the way they were playing with and for each other all year, that, they talked the talk, but they were walking the walk. But I don't know. Just talking about it, there's so many visceral human emotions that come out from people just watching the game. I was in a bar. People were in tears when he scored that goal. And, I think about the reaction of everyone. Listen, it was the end of the season. They lose game 6. They're done. It sucks. And I don't think we'll ever be in a situation where the disappointment of falling short of the goal seemed so secondary to what a team showed that they were all about in a hockey game.
Yeah, maybe it's impacting even the reviews of the playoffs and the season as well, that we were delivered such a reminder of the importance of life and family and all sorts of things well beyond the scope of a hockey game. I'm sure that for many, the loss of the game in the series still stings an awful lot. But you put things in perspective, and you see how people respond to their most difficult moments. I think that's one for me in so many ways. Scheifele scoring that goal, but beyond that it's going to last the most. And how would I say this? Like I think about Josh Morrissey and him describing the loss of his own father as one of the hardest things that he's ever had to go through. And I've spoken to Josh Morrissey at length about it. We wrote a piece about it. I think our phone conversation for it went a couple of hours. I think we both cried, if I remember correctly, just discussing grief. And then for him to say that, in a way, from a particular lens, he was grateful for that experience so that he could be there for his best friend, Mark Scheifele, when he was going through the same. For him to frame it that way, for him to look for the opportunity to do something good with his own pain, is phenomenal. It's remarkable. That's human stuff that transcends sport. And many of us won't have the opportunity to be in such a difficult position. And those of us that are, may we meet that moment like Josh Morrissey did for Mark Scheifele on Saturday, knowing as well that Scheifele had been there for Morrissey in the past too when he went through it. These are revealing moments of character. And just 3 years ago, what was it? Paul Stastny was saying some guys didn't play for each other. Well, one of the guys, Adam Lowry, was in tears because he couldn't get the kill for somebody, the penalty kill for somebody. These guys play for each other, and it's clear that those bonds are on and off the ice.
This is something that's certainly going to help the team moving forward. And it was job number one when Rick Bowness came in to kind of begin a true overhaul and culture change. And it seems like they've made bets on the right guys for what they were trying to achieve. They've had a great season. They fell short of their goal, but it's hard not to look back at this entire year thinking that there has been, while the ultimate success wasn't achieved, so much else positive happened with this hockey club, and they're in a much, much better place today than they were a year ago and 2 years before that and 3 years before that. And, I think on the ice and off the ice with the fan base, there was so much good that, that's what will stand out to me, knowing that there's only one of 32 teams that's going to be the one with the ticker tape parade and partying with the Stanley Cup. But it does bring us to the off season. And I'll just ask you right off the bat. I mean, I just heard Scott Arniel's comments for the first time. And I'll be honest, Murat, I was taken aback at just the passion that he was speaking about. I mean, it's like the playoffs are still on right now, almost, for Scott. I think you see the regret knowing just how close they were with Dallas and how a few of those games could have gone either way and they were on the wrong end of it. And knowing how hard this team had worked and what they'd achieved, to fall short was still there. But, to me, I don't know about you. You've been in a lot of these more than I have been. That was a different tone than we get more often than not in these end-of-season interviews that are 2, 3, 4 days removed from the end of the season.
Yeah, I would agree with you that it was unique and it is noteworthy. And like what I read in it is a couple of things. One is an emotional honesty from Scott Arniel. He's been emotionally honest throughout the season. He's picked his spots when he, got publicly angry, whether it was after the Arizona game or after game one, when Winnipeg gave up home ice advantage. There was a notable shift in tone against Dallas in that post-game press conference. I mean, he is a guy that I think, I want to say, gets it, knows the moments, knows the importance of different moments, and a guy who wears his emotions on his sleeve with a degree of emotional intelligence. So when he came out after game one and there was a different tone in him, and he was talking about how they'd, given up home ice advantage, you knew that burned him in a special way, that he knew the importance of that moment. And in this case, again, where he's sort of like, he's still chewing on it, it's the competitor in him. And it's the fact that I think he does believe that the Winnipeg Jets were right there, if not for these key moments. And I think that it burns him. And I think that he's wearing that. I ran into him in the hallway yesterday, actually. And I mean, there's nothing controversial here. I'm sure it's okay to share, but we were just about to begin a conversation that would have been pleasantries, that would have been like, hey, have a good summer, tough loss, all that, that type of stuff. And he went as if to speak, and you could see the loss still burning him. And he's like, you know what? I better talk to you guys tomorrow. And maybe that's just a unique thing about him compared to other coaches, that he's going to sit with this and he's going to carry it and not just wear it inside, but he's going to wear it on his sleeve as well. But I think he's an honest guy, and I think that he's wearing his pain honestly and wearing the sense of we were right there honestly. And hopefully that means the same type of candor when it comes to, well, how do we get these guys over the hump?
Murat Atesh of The Athletic is with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. So, that what really stood out to me about Kevin Shovel, or about Scott Arniel today. And listen, he gets high marks for the job that he did this year with this hockey club, and very clearly not willing to rest on any laurels, moving on into the off season. Kevin Cheveldayoff spoke, and no surprise, proud of what the team was able to do. Disappointed they weren't able to beat the Dallas Stars and aren't still playing. But from a general manager standpoint, this is when you kind of shift from the coach's job to the general manager job in putting this team together. And the biggest topic amongst on these Jet streets, of course, is the future of Nikolai Ehlers, who we didn't get a chance to hear from because he's playing for his country right now in the World Championships, and of course moving on to the quarters with his goal yesterday. We played what Kevin Cheveldayoff had to say about that. What were your takeaways from Chevy's comments on the pending unrestricted free agency of number 27?
Yeah, it's a situation that could go a number of ways. There's no confident surefire we're going to sign this guy. There's no confident surefire this guy's walking. Cheveldayoff said that, he had met with Ehlers' agent, Andre Rufner, I believe, on Monday for over 2 hours, discussing basically Ehlers' future. And the idea is that Cheveldayoff wants to put what he calls his best foot forward in the name of making Nikolai Ehlers a Winnipeg Jet for life. And that's great. And, term and money and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure there are different ways to come to agreements there. But he didn't convey that it's a done deal. And he said, well, you know what, if ultimately it doesn't go our way here, we're going to have to move forward like we always do. We're going to have to evolve like we always do. And maybe it gives us an opportunity somewhere else. So, the pitch is let's make this guy a Jet for life. But I think that the recognition is that may not be possible. Ehlers may want other opportunities, or Cheveldayoff may not be willing to offer what Ehlers can get somewhere else. Or perhaps, number one, above all else, Ehlers may be courted by a team that feels that he can play a bigger role. And, for a guy that played the 9th most 5-on-5 minutes per game in the regular season and the 9th most 5-on-5 minutes per game in the playoffs amongst Jets forwards, there may be a sense that there's more available for him elsewhere, and not in the sense of there being any better place to play than Winnipeg, or having a better bond, because, man, did his teammates ever show up for him and saying how much they loved him this week. But just the sense that, hey, there are other things at play here too, and it's possible that Ehlers goes out and seeks other opportunities depending on what he's pitched, and he's earned the right. So my overall sense here is that, okay, well, the Jets are going to make their pitch, but it's far from a certainty.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. Although I do, and maybe this is just me trying to get myself into a more positive state of mind, I do kind of feel better about the chances of Nikolai Ehlers staying today than if you had asked me 3-4 months ago, a year ago at this time. And I think the biggest part of it is what this team was able to achieve together, what they've been able to do, both through the regular season, making strides in the playoffs, having Ehlers, once again, with literally the worst luck in the world, missing the first 5 games and coming back. And now listen, I mean, obviously when we're talking about these numbers of ice time of 5-on-5, it is sort of surprising. I think part of it might have been some shorter shifts by him coming back from injury and how long that he would be on there.
Regular season 9th.
Yeah, it is a bit of a head scratcher. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But is that even on his own line?
Yeah, 3rd among 3 on his own line. And part of that, if you want to get into the nitty gritty of just why a few seconds here, a few seconds there, I mean, if you're coming onto the ice after Connor Scheifele and Velarde, which would be a substantial chunk of his life, those guys are known for extending shifts. So you may get a large number of shifts, but your shift length may be, adversely impacted when the big guns come off the ice after stretching a little bit. That got better at times during the year and worse at times, and that's sort of a career-long thing. Certainly some of it is also Ehlers' own approach, right? He goes until he's done and he gets off. I don't think that, he doesn't strike me as Scheifele-esque in the ability to push a shift beyond a minute with much success. So that all plays into it. And then at the end of the day, it adds up that wow, geez, if he's thinking to himself that, hey, I was 3rd amongst 3 on essentially the 3rd line, isn't there a team willing to give me 2nd line type 5-on-5 minutes? I wouldn't begrudge a guy for that.
No, for sure. And I do wonder, would you prefer, hell, there's a bunch of teams that he could be 1st line without a doubt in this National Hockey League. Now, is it worth it to take more money to go to a team that might not be making the playoffs, and getting more ice time and probably getting more points, and being in a place that maybe you don't have as much chance to win, and you certainly aren't a part of something that he was such a big part of here in Winnipeg. And to me, Murat, it's pretty simple. I mean, he's going to be rich. Money's not going to be an issue. If he's looking for the top dollar, well, you're going to go see who's getting the most, and you're going to go there. I have no reason to say that's a yes or no on Nick. I don't know him well enough. But if it is not simply about that, and there's more to it, to me, the selling point of the Winnipeg Jets and staying here is being a part of something that has changed and been built to what we've seen, like this team show on and off the ice this year. And obviously the chance to win. Obviously they've made big strides in that over the last few years as well. And, he's a notoriously relatively quiet guy. I mean, certainly, we weren't hearing leaks from his camp or anything throughout the year. I mean, this was going to be done at the end of the year. And, I have a feeling that, there'll be some meetings, a little bit of soul searching as to what is best for him. But the selling point of the Winnipeg Jets for Nikolai Ehlers is what a big part of it he is. The bright future for this team that I think they all feel a part of. Because, listen, there's going to be no short of suitors. When you look at the free agents available this year, I don't know what people have suggested his market value will be. I would make an argument that there's a team or two that will be happy to pay over that if they could get that guy because of what he can do for teams. And to me, it's going to be the connection to his teammates, to the city, to this team, as to whether it makes the most sense for him to stay as a Winnipeg Jet. And listen, a few cautionary tales, too, for other players that have left here, and it hasn't quite been greener on the other side, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much in there because this is such an important topic, especially with respect to the Jets' future. To Ehlers' credit and his agent's credit, you're absolutely right. There have been no leaks. I talk to people around the league. I talk to people who should have a certain degree of insight here, and the general consensus is, that player deserves more minutes and will probably get them somewhere else. But who hasn't said that, in any sort of capacity is Nikolai Ehlers or his agent. So they've handled themselves exactly the right way. And when I've spoken to Ehlers about it, as I did a couple of times over the course of the season, he said, I know you got to ask me this, fine, but I don't know where this is all going to go. And then so you sort of poke around it from other angles. And, a couple of things, he said and said again how much he loves the city, how much he loves his teammates, how much he loves playing for his teammates. I asked him if he's ever felt that in another capacity. He said no, this is a special thing that we have here. And he seems like an emotional, sentimental guy to a certain extent where that would have meaning for him. I again wouldn't begrudge him for searching for more opportunity, which other teams should be able to give him. And yet, like you say, it is a special situation here. When it comes to grass isn't always greener, I think that some of the guys that have come through here and then struggled elsewhere, you could sort of just tell from their context. There was no way Jacob Trouba was ever going to be a 50-point defenseman again because he wasn't going to get first unit power play time with Wheeler and Laine and Scheifele ever again. That was never going to happen. The Dubois thing is interesting in the way that he crashed in LA and then sort of found himself again in Washington. And beyond that, there's no one really that I can think of in the caliber of Ehlers. For me, it's always been a case of if this guy gets more ice time, he will produce more. He was close to becoming the first player ever at a point per game or better with his amount of ice time in the history of the NHL this season and fell just short of that. I think that there's more juice to squeeze from that particular app, or orange, lemon, I don't know what juice, whatever. But I think that there's more there, and whether it's Winnipeg ideally or somewhere else, they're probably, it's tough for me until his body catches up with him, which is a reasonable thing in say his earlier mid-30s once he's not as explosively fast. But up until that point, it's tough for me to see him being anything but productive.
Do you take did you take anything over the fact that Chevy mentioned that he was with Nick's agent for 2 hours on Monday, and that they'll be reconnecting with Nick after the World Championships at some point, which is available presumably before the 1st of July?
Yeah, I do. And that's one of the things that moves the conversation from, oh, geez, he's probably out, to like, wait a second, there might be something here. And, I'm sure it'll come to those things, not just dollars, but term especially, and opportunity especially, kind of being second fiddle for as long as he's been. The idea that they're talking at length, though, that has to be an encouraging sign if you're looking for him to sign with the Winnipeg Jets. That wasn't the case with, say, like a year ago, Brendan Dillon's agent and Kevin Cheveldayoff, right? Like, I think I think that's quite meaningful. The fact that they're in it, they're trying to sort it out.
Listen, the Jet fan in me is freaked out by the thought of no Nikolai Ehlers on the Winnipeg Jets, not only because he's such a fun person. I mean, as a guy that pays for tickets, he puts asses in seats. I mean, people love him. He's exciting. He's fun. He helps your team win. Not that I want to spend too much time on this, but where do the Jets go, and what does this team look like if Nikolai Ehlers walks?
Great question. Certainly they'd have cap room to spend, and I've envisioned different scenarios where they can afford to retain him and Velarde and Samberg, and I see a lot of angst on the internet about, well, they would run out of room. I honestly don't think that they would, as long as they were judicious with their spending at the edges of the roster and no $5 million, $4 million deals for Mason Appleton or Brandon Tanev or whoever it might be. So I think that there's room. If they have the room that would have otherwise been allocated to him, then maybe they're able to go shopping. I don't think that Brock Nelson is as appealing of a UFA now as he would have been for the Jets as a trade addition based on how things went afterwards. And he'll, of course, have his choice of where he goes depending on what his future holds. I've looked at various free agent lists, and it's tough for me to find the guy that you believe would fit, would sign in Winnipeg, and would not need to be dramatically overpaid. It's an awkward spot. Despite everything the Jets have built, the UFA element continues to be a weakness in terms of attracting some of those top-end players. So yes, that there would be room. Yes, that there would be some sort of opportunity cost provided by that cap hit. But Cheveldayoff would really need to pull a rabbit out of his hat to use it in a way that was close to as impactful as Ehlers, in my opinion. He's pulled rabbits out of hats. Absolutely, he has. But the reason it's so remarkable is because of how tough it likely is. And so that would be a tough scene to be looking at.
Yeah, well, it's it's going to give us lots to talk about over the next few weeks as we get into the offseason. That is for sure, because I don't think there's any doubt that the number one Jets topic right now is the future of Nikolai Ehlers, and we hope he plays his ass off and has some great victories for his country at the World Championships, and then can sit down with the Winnipeg Jets and see if a more extended stay, as Cheveldayoff said, a Jet for life is still potentially on the table. Murat, we're going to, over the next few days, we're going to be playing a lot of the feedback from a number of the players, but just fresh out of the last couple of days where you talked to pretty much everyone, was there a player or two that stood out to you? I mean, as far as what you heard, I mean, anything really resonate maybe more than some of the others?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned Josh Morrissey framing his own pain as like an opportunity to help his friend. That's going to be my longest lasting takeaway. I think that's just an incredible way to approach a situation and really deserves all the credit in the world. But from a Winnipeg Jets sort of team building, roster building point of view, it was also striking to hear Gabriel Velarde's sense of regret about moments missed and chances he wished that he had scored. The idea that he spent the last few days really going over it in his mind, like that's burned into him. It was fun to hear Cole Prevetti talk about blacking out during the Manitoba Miracle. He's like, I wish I remembered more of it, but it was just so loud in there. And like, that's pretty cool. You've heard a lot of Jets show up to say nice things about playing with Nikolai Ehlers and who he is on and off the ice. You heard lots of Jets speak to the Canada Life Center crowd, and Perfetti, I mean, hit that nail on the head again today. I thought that was really excellent stuff. It's unique. It's a unique situation where the Jets have come so far and still have distance to climb, where sometimes it can be easier to rest on your laurels, at least from a raw perspective at the microphone, talking about exit interviews and all that sort of stuff. I was also struck by Kyle Connor, like, completely refusing that opportunity. I can't remember the question that was asked or who asked it, but my takeaway from the question was, hey, is it a little bit easier to process this knowing how far you guys have come? And he's like, no, like, just absolutely not. We wanted to win. And I'm not sure he said it nearly as dramatically, but he is a business-like sort of person when it comes to his competitive fire. And I liked how that landed, is for me personally. And it's just interesting to hear all these different people sort of show their individual sides as they get reflective. And I thought maybe in part because of the success that they had, maybe in part because of how close they came to more success and yet how far they were, I thought they were willing to indulge quite a bit of their thought process this time around. And I'm sure as you play those quotes, fans are really going to enjoy getting that insight.
What do you have cooking in the Athletic for Jet fans as we put a bow on the 24-25 season that will be remembered very fondly by so many, but came just short of where they hope to finish up in about a month?
Yeah, this week I've got a couple pieces up already, and one is sort of the idea that, hey, this team came so far. It won the President's Trophy, set a record for a 15-game start, all the individual accolades, and it's not playing in the Western Conference Final. And I size up that the Winnipeg Jets offseason begins where those two facts intersect. That, like, wait a second, we are moving the goalposts on these guys. We're not comparing them to past editions of themselves because they've come so much further than that. But also, there's room for growth here. So how are they going to go about it? We talk about that. Certainly, all the pieces about exit interviews have quite a comprehensive piece up there today from yesterday's version of that. But now we're going to get into some sort of roster construction talk and who's going to be here next year and who's not going to be here next year. And what can we say about Nikolai Ehlers' future? What will that Velarde or Samberg contract look like? What about the other free agents? And, what can you do with all of this? Just like you asked, great questions about, well, what would you do with that cap space? Or how could they try to get better if Ehlers is here or if he isn't? And, in written form, I find that I do a much better job of that. So I hope folks will tune in and read and really get into the nitty gritty with it because, this is a really interesting Jets offseason.
As the conference finals start tonight, I did want to ask, I didn't want to get into the series right off the bat, without kind of talking about Game 6 and, what happened with Mark and the way the team showed up and, everything that we saw afterwards. But, as someone that was at games 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and watched Game 6 back here in Winnipeg, I look back at this series as being one that, and again, like, we're talking two great teams, both winning 50-plus games, and oftentimes a razor-thin margin between winning and losing. I'll ask you simply, Murat, when you look back at that series, what was the difference? Why are the Dallas Stars playing Edmonton tonight and the Winnipeg Jets aren't?
For me, there are two things that I hold. One is that Game 1 was Winnipeg's to win, and they didn't. Mikko Rantanen's hat trick was a brilliant performance, and I wanted to say avoidable. I mean, there's a lucky bounce in one of the goals. There's a great play where he gets to the puck in the slot first, but I think that Winnipeg had an opportunity to do better for itself in Game 1 than it did. And then the other moment, of course, is the Alex Petrovic kick goal where it was deemed that Hellebuck directed it into his own net. And the misery of that, and also the fact that that's one goal down with most of the third period left, as I recall. So the sort of ensuing inability to get back into that game, you want to talk about moments. And for me, that's a thin razor's edge between success and failure. But I think Dallas handled itself better in those 50-50 moments. And those are the two that stand out. I don't begrudge Winnipeg its Game 6 loss too heavily. I thought they played a great road game. the Stars and Jets both had a lot of great chances to end that one before overtime. But I think that the missed opportunities are in game one, and then after that Petrovic goal.
Murat, it is always an absolute pleasure having you on the program. And today, I will tell you, if you want to just know how much you're appreciated, go back on the YouTube afterwards and just see some of the comments about you during the chat. It'll be heartwarming to you to know how much people enjoy your visits here on the program. I'm looking forward to everything you've got as we get into the off season. We'll still have many interesting chats coming up, but thanks for everything this year from all of us at Winnipeg Sports Talk, and certainly from the people that enjoy the show.
Thank you so much.
Have a great one, pal.
I love Jets fans. You guys are great. Thank you.
There's Murat attached, folks. You know where to find him. theathletic.com at WPG Murat on Twitter. That was a great conversation. I had been looking forward to having Murat on the program, and I knew that, listen, it's still, just a few days later. For me, I know for many of you, I mean, it's emotional having the team not in the playoffs anymore. It was certainly emotional, with the connection that this team has to the city and all of us, to know what, Mark, but everyone went through, the valiant way that they ended up bowing out. And I knew it would come together in a great conversation with Murat. So really do appreciate him doing that. Well, I guess it's off to spring and summer now, folks, huh? Well, time to maybe head down to Royal Sports. We got to get ready for Bomber season. They've got all the new Bomber gear ready to go. Many exclusives that you won't find anywhere else. And of course, it's not just the best in fan and team merchandise anywhere that's at Royal Sports. It's also the biggest sports store for a reason. So they got room for everything for you to take advantage of summer. A massive bike section with new bikes coming in on the daily. Soccer, baseball, softball, you name it. And for you psychos that play hockey 12 months a year, you know that Royal Sports is the undisputed hockey superstore in town at all. It's all waiting for you down at 750 Pembina Highway. Our partners from day one, Royal Sports. Follow them on Instagram as well, at Royal Sports Winnipeg. See some great merchandise drops, new stuff that you might want to get in time for the weekend. And by the way, for all you people that love camping and getting out, make sure to check out, they have the best Yeti section with coolers and mugs to make the most of your summer as well. All waiting for you down at 750 Pembina Highway. Well, the playoffs move on. Pat's going to join me in a few minutes. We'll dive into this conference final with Edmonton and Dallas, as well as a little golf talk. But Boston Pizza is ready to go for tonight. And the Oilers and the Dallas Stars, the BP playoff menu is ready to go. And whether you're jumping on that triple pep pizza, the wingman pizza, the wing flights. God, I talked to Dusty for about 10 minutes today about the Canadian All-Star Poutine, which has an addictive nature to it. So if you're looking for a place to go to move on from the end of Jet season, make it Boston Pizza, playoff menu in full effect. And hey, if you are staying at home, you can always get the great taste of Boston Pizza by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. Let's give a big cheers to our good friends. Speaking of summer, what goes better with summer than some cold beer? Had a couple LBJs at the ballpark last night for the Gold Eyes home opener. Here's a big cheers to Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
And yes, the 1919s and generics will be available for all you baseball fans. Mentioned right off the hop, just an awesome start to the home schedule yesterday down at the ballpark for the Winnipeg Gold Eyes. In excess of 6,000 fans through the door. That great jersey giveaway they did, which was very popular. And as I mentioned, some of the longest concession lines I have ever seen at the ballpark. I imagine that'll be the same on Thursday for the school day game. coming up at 11 o'clock. But if it was a little too busy for you, I imagine tonight will be, not quite 6,000, but tell you what, a good start for the year. And Remo, I did last night. I started off my tour of the ballpark with one of my old favorites, the pierogies and garlic sausage. But I have made a commitment. I am going to eat from every single concession during this Goldeye season. And I did take a photo of the pierogies and garlic sausage. We're going to put together a culinary tour of Blue Cross Park like only WST is capable of as we make it through this 50-game home schedule.
Yeah, and I saw that they got Famous Dave's in there now. We'll have to go out and try it. Always so many options. Yeah, I'm looking forward to whenever we set our date to go. We had a great time at the patio party last year. Was checking out the new ticket website yesterday. Options for groups on there as well. You could even just order a suite right from the website. It was pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to the season. As they had a great year last year, got to the final, fell just short, and trying it again in this one.
Yeah, it was Landon Barassa had a complete game shutout, finishing up the road trip coming in. And a really well-pitched game, actually, by both teams. Milwaukee Milkmen back in town tonight. 6:30 start down at the ballpark. And again, Assiniboia Downs going live racing today. We'll get to that in a few minutes, as well as a Breezy Bend golf report. We mentioned that Goldeye's date. Give us a day. Actually, after the show, we're going to try and lock this in. And we'll let you know. Speaking of dates, the date that I know many of you have been on me for, poker, a week today, next Wednesday. We're going to set it up for 8:30, like a half hour earlier. I think we'll, give people time to put kids to bed or whatever, but still maybe, if you're going head to head with Randy River in the final two, like happened for me, maybe get to bed a little earlier. But we've had so much fun with the poker tourneys. They will continue. We'll have full details on how to enter. Most of you that'll be returning will know how to do it. But save the date, 1 week today. And hopefully our friends from EST will jump over as well, as the Oilers are off that day. So Wednesday, 8:30, the next WST Coolbet Poker Extravaganza. Myself and Remis will be in there. You can take a run at the bounties, and it should be a lot of fun. Speaking of Coolbet, let's welcome in our pal Pat Gregoire, because it is Wednesday. I want to pick Pat's brain for a couple minutes on the Colonial, but we've also got two more conference finals getting going as we get into the Coolbet lines. P. Greggy, what's going on? How are you?
Doing good, Huss. Finally, slowly recovering from the playoff exit for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Maybe not quite as devastated as our friend Jake Bolamas was, but I think my expectations for Game 7 were a little more realistic than his.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, it's one thing to think you might lose. I mean, the way that they went out. And, I was thinking about that. We just had a conversation with Murat about just the emotion around the Jets in Game 6 and Mark Scheifele losing his father and the way they stepped up and, losing with him in the box and what we saw from that team. And I got to tell you, I think, we see it pretty much from everybody in the chat, all my conversations. There really is a level of immense pride in what this team was able to do this year, despite, falling short of the goal and losing to a really good Dallas team in a very, very close series. Man, everything coming out of Toronto could not be any different. There is an element to blow it up. And, we heard that, Mitch Marner spoke yesterday. It almost feels like it's in a bit of the past tense. And, we've got Sean McIndoe coming on in the next couple days and, and talking to him, it's a lot of the same narratives or whatever we had about the Leafs in previous years. And, in some ways, and I kind of get this from viewers, it's like, why should we be, are we dummies? Like, why should we be expecting any different? Because this has been the same thing over and over again. But tell you what, Mitch walks. We'll see what happens with John Tavares. Going to be a very different year, and I think a different spotlight on Austin Matthews, despite already being the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs moving forward.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's funny you mentioned the Mitch Marner thing. I do think, I mean, even if the Toronto Maple Leafs were able to come back with an offer, and like, let's not forget, there were reports that the Leafs did offer $13.5 million with term, and Mitch Marner and his camp said no. They were the ones that turned it down. Imagine if he did sign that thing and re-signed, how insane this market would be going right now. I don't think he wants to be back, to be quite frank, and I don't blame him. I think he needs a fresh start. I think he needs a fresh start. I think this core fans have been asking for, not even, I don't want to say blow it up. Like, I think you're crazy if you think, A, that's the answer, and B, that's what's going to happen. They are committed to Austin Matthews. They're committed to William Nylander. Whether they bring back John Tavares, if they can get him on a reasonable contract, if he takes that hometown discount, of course, there is forced change here for this team. I don't think it's scorched earth. I don't think it's, burn it to the ground, but I certainly think it is forced with John Tavares' contract expiring and Mitch Marner's contract now expiring. It's going to be an interesting offseason. I wish this happened in 2026 because the free agency pool looks a lot more interesting than next year's. Our friend Justin Bourne tweeted out today. He goes, man, there are going to be some ugly and dumb contracts with the cap going up and with it not really being that great of a free agent pool this year. We're going to see a lot of teams overpay. For my sake, for our friend Jake Bull and Moss's sake, I hope Toronto's not one of those teams who's going to overpay for a free agent here.
Jake's in chat. He mentioned Pat literally texted me the exact scenario that happened. A huge Game 6 win to bring fans back in, followed by an embarrassing Game 7 loss. Well, I mean, unfortunately for all of us, our teams are done, but we do have the Oilers and Stars kicking off in the conference finals tonight. And, Patty, we did a poll today in the chat, and we just said, hey, who's playing out of the West for the Stanley Cup? And it finished about 60-40 for Edmonton. And I got to give our listeners a pretty good tap on the tip of the cap, because when you look at the line of -119 to -101, pretty close to about a 60-40 implied probability of the exact line right now at Coolbet. Dallas just south of even money, Edmonton -119. Where are you at on the conference finals? I mean, are you, because this is pretty simple. I mean, when we're not talking about massive differences in odds, you're always wanting to bet who will win, but there's not even a value prop here, I don't think. Do the Oilers get over on them again, and did they get another crack at presumably the Panthers in the finals?
This one's tough. Like, I mean, when you look at the series winner, -116 for Edmonton, 104 for Dallas. But when you're looking at the odds for tonight, Dallas is -130 to take Game 1. I don't know, man. Like, I'm really impressed with this Dallas team. I maybe it's just because this was my prediction at the start of the year for them to win the Cup. So maybe I'm just holding on to that. But I think they win here tonight. Whether they win, maybe the play for me is to bet them to win tonight. And then if you get a better price on the Oilers, then you hedge what your preseason future bet was. That's maybe the play here. But I think this is going to be a supremely close series. When you're looking at where the money lays right now with Coolbet, it's interesting because you obviously, pretty strong fan base, a lot of customers in and around Edmonton. But let's not forget, Coolbet, pretty popular in Finland as well. And the Dallas Stars are Finland's unofficial team. So about 64% of the money right now at Coolbet is coming in on the Dallas Stars to win here tonight. So that's just kind of when I first saw it, I was kind of surprised. But then our Finnish friends over the pond quickly reminded us that this is a big time Finland squad. The Finns love their Dallas Stars. That
actually makes a lot of sense now. And I mean, I guess so the line has moved. I just had to refresh because I went 116. I'm looking at -119, and then sure enough, right now, I mean, we're getting a lot closer to a pick'em with Dallas at -4, -104, and -116. Folks, if you want to get in before the series starts, you've got Dallas and Edmonton series spread. And then you can also bet the exact. I'm picking Oilers in 6. And Oilers in 6 is plus 430 on a plus 4.2. Like if you liked Edmonton in 6 or 7, you could go with the series spread. Edmonton minus 1.5, which is at plus 160. But, based on what I'm seeing with a wave 4.2 and a wave 4.3, I think you'd be better off in just splitting your bet and putting half of it on a wave 4.2, half of it on a wave 4.3. Another bet that I don't mind. I'm actually liking Edmonton's chances to get off to a good start and win this series. I think they're ready to go. I know that, I don't expect it to take a long time for McDavid to get in. And part of it is knowing just how much hockey they played before getting to the final, what happened in the first 3 games. We saw it. They showed the killer instinct against Vegas. I don't think we're going to need to wait for Edmonton to show up and announce themselves in the series. So Edmonton, if you like Edmonton to win tonight and you're on Edmonton to win the series, the other interesting one is Edmonton to win game 1 and Edmonton to win the series. That's at plus 185. But there's a whole bunch of options, when it comes to players, both goals and points. The McDavid one's interesting to me, though. The total is 9.5. Plus 110 to the over. I believe Dusty was telling me, I think he had 10 points against the Dallas Stars last year in this series. It seems like we've been waiting for him to really explode. I mean, at least by McDavid standards. Plus money on a massive McDavid series. I don't know. I kind of like that. I think I'm going to be getting on that. A little bit of fun to ride with, but because it wasn't Draisaitl and McDavid that were really getting it done. I think that's why people are respecting the Oilers that much more. They actually got great goaltending from Stuart Skinner in the last couple games. And, it was Connor Brown. It was Hyman. It was Podkolzin. It was all sorts of guys that aren't named Draisaitl or McDavid that are making it happen, Pat.
Yeah, I think really this Oilers team flexed their muscles when it comes to showing their depth scoring. And of course, you said it, the goaltending. That was the biggest question mark coming into it. So, I really do feel like this Dallas Stars team is going to, pose a big problem. I think it goes 7. You said 6, so we're pretty close here. You opened up my eyes to the points that McDavid, you can get plus money on 9.5. The one that I liked was over 2.5 goals. And I know
love that too.
He's only got 2 goals so far. But you said it. He's going to explode here. He has to explode here. And for him to score 3 goals in what I think is going to be 6 or 7 games, how does that not happen? If this series goes 6 or 7 and he doesn't score 3 goals, I don't know if they win. I know we just talked about the depth scoring really coming up to play, but at the end of the day, man, if this Oilers team is going to get back to the Stanley Cup Finals, I think it's got to be the big dogs driving the bus. I don't know if Connor Brown and Zach Hyman, and they're great players. Heck, former Toronto Maple Leafs. They're great players, but I don't know if it's going to be on the back of those 2 guys and some of the other cast of characters.
No, they just can't have a bunch of passengers, not to use that word. That's a little, it's a little fresh. Sorry. Hey, listen,
Touché.
But folks, check that out. Also, listen, I want to spoil the Knicks party. I'm on the Pacers, plus 123 in that series. You can check that out, NBA playoffs. But listen, before we go, we get to the Charles Schwab. And this is just, it's not an elevated event, and Scotty Scheffler is in it. And this is the lowest favorite number I've ever seen. I think this includes Tiger Woods. Plus 240 for Scheffler. The next guy on the odds board is Tommy Fleetwood at 22-1, and then 25s for Berger, Hideki, Jordan Spieth before getting into the 30s. I will say, if you go to the exclusives, our buddy Pat Mayo has an exclusive super boost, so you can actually get Daniel Berger from 25 to 30-1. I've got a little piece of that. But, Pat, at this point, after what we saw at Quail, I think I might combine everything that I normally bet on a tournament and just put it on Scotty. I don't expect a big drop off. He's playing at home in Dallas. He obviously wanted to play there. He's just so much better than everybody else, not named Rory McIlroy or Bryson DeChambeau, I think, right now in world golf. And even there, I think you can argue that there's a gap. I know it's insane, but I think I might bet the favorite.
Well, the great thing about Coolbet is you also get your 30% multiplier as well. So let's just say you put $30 on Scotty Scheffler. You're getting an extra $21.60 on top of your winnings. So your return goes to $123.60. And that's just if you put a 30 spot there. It's hard to argue. Like, I was shocked. Jake and I were actually talking about this on Tuesday morning. He was dumbfounded to see Scotty in the field, but this is in Texas. He has played so well in his home state. Let's go back to a couple of weeks ago where he just swept the field. And that's really where this, he led that off and rolled it right into a PGA championship. Who in this field though, and again, obviously I'm going to bet other guys. Like, come on, let's not be serious here. I'm still going to bet Scotty. I'm going to bet a couple others as well. But does Tommy Fleetwood, are you shaking in your boots? The guy that's never won a tournament in America before. I know Daniel Berger, Pat Mayo's on him. He's got his boost. That's a great bet. But when was the last time he won? Hideki, maybe ceiling. Hideki is a guy that certainly can go toe to toe. He's proved it before, but we haven't seen that Hideki in a long time. Spieth, I'm betting Spieth. I'll spoil that. He's on my card. But how confident do you really feel? We don't have, like you said, Xander's not in this field. Rory's not in this field. Heck, even a Ludwig Aberg. None of these guys are in the field. This could be one where 3 o'clock, and I haven't even seen tee times, but 3 o'clock Eastern rolls around and this tournament's wrapped up. It's absolutely blows his game over. So I definitely don't disagree with that, but I'm not going all in just on Scotty. I got to get a couple other bets out there as well.
Yeah, okay. Well, listen, mine is pretty simple. And I'm looking at it right now. With the 30% boost, you're basically taking Scheffler from plus 240 to over 3-1. Which is, listen, that's sort of the value that I'm looking for, I think, on one sort of bet, and I can just focus in on one guy. The opening tee time tomorrow is Berger, Scheffler, and Davis Riley. Riley's the one other guy that I'm going to put a little sprinkle on, more of a long shot. He's the defending champ. He beat Scheffler by 5 shots at this tournament last year, and he just finished T2 in the PGA Championship. So for no other reason that he played well last week, he's the defending champ. He'll be with those guys, which actually might be a negative, to be honest. Having to try to keep up with them, and particularly Scotty for the first 2 rounds. But 50-1 on the outright for Davis Riley. I'll jump on that. And you did mention Jordan Spieth. Listen, if I'm backing Scotty Scheffler, I'm not betting him to win. However, I think I'm going to throw down plus 450 top 5, plus 225 top 10 for those bets. What else is on the card?
Yeah, just to kind of talk on Spieth, because I said I'm on him at 25-1. I also will be on him on a top 10 as well. Outside of Scotty, no one has been better in Texas over the past 36 rounds. He's second in strokes gained total, ninth in strokes gained off the tee. He's won at this golf course back in 2016, and since then another 6 top 10 finishes. So I like him. Maybe not to win, although I'm going to sprinkle him to win, but definitely some other ones. Aaron Rai, I know his putter is going to have to heat up, but at a course where you don't really need to bomb it and it's, really have to play well with your irons, how do you not go with a guy like Aaron Rai, 33-1? I think we're getting a very good number on Rai in this field, and it's been ugly for him. It's been a tough go, but I'm back on Akshay Bhatia, 66-1. It's a buy low spot for him. It's been a struggle since pretty much that great finish at the Players, but he has shown flashes of brilliance. He just hasn't been able to put it all together. But he's won in the state of Texas before, and I think he's got all the right tools to put this thing together and come up. And I guess, I know Scotty, it's here, but when you look at a ceiling talent level, Batia's what? He's got to be in that top 5. Maybe a Hideki, maybe a Fleetwood, a Berger, like Spieth. He's right in there. Like if Scotty blows, like doesn't have his stuff, I think Batia is a guy that could actually, maybe knock him off. And at the number, I really like that one as well.
Patty, let's hope. As I said, I'm coming off a good week. I mean, it was Scotty instead of Rory winning it.
Yep.
But I mean, I thought Bryson would be right there, top live golfer. He got that. Thank you, John Rahm, for imploding at the end of that round. But hey, 1 for 1 with the profit boost. Taylor Pendrith, top Canadian, great tourney for Pendy, finishing T6, 1 shot back. By the way, do not forget, if you're getting on this, hockey playoffs, anything, if you have not already gone into the promos and made sure you opted in for that dream golf trip for you and 3 friends to Cabot Links, do that immediately. All you got to do is opt in, and then for every $50 you bet in the sports book, you'll get a raffle into the draw. And again, I believe it's 75 on the casino side. And next Wednesday, poker is back. We'll have details on social media, in the newsletter, but book it 8:30 Central Time. We are back on the digital felt. Patty, great stuff as always. We'll talk to you next week. Let's get a nice little Jordan Spieth top 5. Scheffler running away with it, and cash in those tickets again.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk offline. We'll get a parlay built. I've got my Griggy's golf special up there already. Scheffler top 10, Fleetwood, Spieth, and Bhatia, all just to make the cut. I'm going back to the basics. Plus 228, boosted it up from 198. Still a really good number. I love this one here.
You know what? I got a couple cooking in there. Folks, check out the exclusives. We'll throw something else in there coming out of our picks from today's visit with Pat Gregoire over at Coolbet. Coolbet.com. If you haven't played there before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. And good luck. And make sure to check out all those great Coolbet promos. Patty, we'll talk to you soon, pal. Thanks for doing this.
Chat soon.
All right, there is Patty Gregoire at P. Greggy. Make sure to give him a follow as well. And he'll be busy, actually, as well. Of course, Patty calls the NLL on TSN. And Buffalo and Saskatchewan split on the weekend. So a third and final game coming up on the weekend that Pat will be on the mic for. So check that out on TSN. All right, I mean, as we mentioned, we just talked some golf with Pat, but for our Breezy Bend Golf Report, it is the Charles Schwab Challenge at Colonial this week. Scotty Scheffler, the massive favorite, and then everybody else. Of course, golf is underway and in full swing here in the province. And the Manitoba Open is coming to Breezy Bend. Can't wait to get out there and do shows later on in August. But if you're interested in finding out more about Breezy and potentially getting on the waiting list for membership there, I'd suggest giving our pal Corey Johnson a call over at the clubhouse, and you can find out more online at breezybend.ca. All right, let's get Remo back in here. A very pumped Michael Remis after having a pretty big day last night at Assiniboia Downs.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say pumped after finding my glasses. They were right where I left them. I don't know. They were like this, and I didn't. They're like camouflage, see-through. You can't see them.
Well, you did call it. You did say they're somewhere there. If folks could have heard the commotion behind the scenes of Remis not being able to find his glasses at the beginning of the show. Ooh, it's too bad we didn't start the stream and just have people able to enjoy that.
Well, yeah, we're trying to get going. Like, I take a shower, like, literally right before, usually. That's just how it goes. And I'm trying to find my glasses, and I'm like, where are they? I just couldn't see them. My wife can, and she couldn't see them either. So don't get ones with, like, see-through frames, because you put them down on a table, you can't find them. It's insane. So, but yes, I am very happy about my picks at the Downs. I was 3 for 4 yesterday. Off to a good start. And this is how it goes every year, Huss. I get off to a good start. I make a bunch of bets that are like smaller winning. I stack them together. And then you just keep trying to hit that hammer at the end. And last year you hit, what was it? Like 1,000 on a $1 bet?
Yeah, it was like 1,150 on a $1 triactor wheel on like the third last day of live racing of the season. I think I was down like $200 to you and then ended up with the big win. Basically
Insane.
paid for me to go to the President's Cup, which was
Insane.
which was unbelievable. I'm actually going to hopefully, now that I know that my schedule is cleared, I'm going to be going out and hooking up with Pat and the guys from Coolbet at the Canadian Open, as well as Mayo and Feinberg and all those fellas. They're doing a live show there that weekend as well. It should be a hell of a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that. All right. Well, you have the hammer, Remis. So you let me know what you're cooking up right now, and then I'll fire out my picks.
Yeah, you just want me to go first so you can copy my picks because I was 3 for 4.
The one pick I apparently copied, which we had the same, was the one bet you didn't win yesterday. So I'm not sure how that went for me. But yeah, Remis was 3 of 4 yesterday with his picks.
Okay, I got 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm just doing the same format I did yesterday. 2 exacta boxes, 2 winners. Race 4, horse 4, Magnolia Speed to win. Race 5, exacta box 3, 6. That's Silver Creek Kid and Be La Soul. That is the AI Smart Picks and the program selection. So I know I'm in a good spot there. Oh. That was that ding was a message from Gregory Liverpool saying he had top level customer service at Royal Sports in a recent visit. So nice to hear that.
Love it. Greg did tell me that he was heading down there. He was looking for a Team Canada jersey, Team Canada soccer jersey. He wanted to get ready. And by the way, just on that, next Thursday? Next Friday?
Which
the Desiree Scott.
I think that's Saturday, isn't that?
Saturday.
Isn't that the 31st? Yeah.
Oh, the 31st. Okay, sorry, that's right.
Next
I'm getting
Saturday,
the days mixed
yeah.
up. The Des Scott retirement game here in Winnipeg. I was just looking. The stars of the Canadian national team are coming out for this one. They're playing against Haiti, and it will be Winnipeg legend Desiree Scott's final game as a member of Canada's women's national team, one of the most decorated footballers in Canadian history and the pride of Peg City. So I hope there'll be a great crowd for that. I mean, our women's team is ranked 7th in the world. They've given our country such incredible moments, and the Destroyer's been in the middle of all of it. And there you see it. Winnipeg, Princess Auto Stadium, the Desiree Scott celebration match. It's going to be a huge, huge day for the city. And, what Valor did yesterday against the Whitecaps, hopefully this can get some momentum both for the local club side, but also some real excitement for next week. And we'll have to reach out to Canada Soccer and see if we can do something on that match next week. But mark that down, the 31st of May. And Gregory will certainly be wearing that jersey next Saturday at Princess Auto Stadium.
Sorry to derail my picks there.
No, but that was good. I'm glad Greg mentioned that. He was at the game. He was fired up. Shout out to Royal. Great customer service. And, of course, shout out to Des.
Yeah, he said he got a black one that was discounted. So he's very happy. And then, where's my pick? Race 6, 1 to 5. JJ's American Diva.
Oh, JJ's
and
is back.
Sophia's Storm. So JJ's American Diva is the 3rd on the AI Smart Picks. Maybe you can sneak in there. And race 7, I'm picking 5 to win. That is Best of Greeley. So those are my picks. I went 3 of 4 yesterday, looking to keep it rolling tonight at the track.
Yeah, listen, I was, I think the smart picks and the program selections, I think you can get a little loose. In these first few races, just because there's a lot of things that you expect to happen that might not, and you sort of really, it's just like the first few weeks of the season, and you see how these teams are, moving forward. All right, race 7. I'm going back. This is going to be my triactor. We're going to take big ticket number 5. We're going to take, do we want to go with Far Beyond? No, we'll go 5 Best of Greeley. And then we'll go, 5.
Which race? Sorry?
This is race 7. Geez, do I want to put in Will the Thrill? That's what I'll do. 7-5-3. 7-5-3. I'll do the triactor box on that one. In race number 4, I'm taking number 3 to win. That's the favorite. You Enjoy Myself. I'll throw a $5 on that one. For race number 3, I'm doing the exactor box. 1-6. He Knows We Know and Prairie Thunder. And that is going to leave me one more $5 bet. Let's see if we go with race number 2. Jeez. Oh, man. These are the good ones. Exacting's been really good. Jeff Fa. Always, you know what? We're going to go Jeff Fa to win. Race 2, number 4. 2-4 to win. So there you go. Get on out to the track tonight, folks. Head to the ball game last night. Little Assiniboia Downs tonight. And, of course, check them out on their Assiniboia Downs page. Crooked Stretch with much better tips than we will give you before all the races. And if you are using HPI Bet to bet remotely, you can kick back, throw a game up on your TV, and watch all the races live on the Assiniboia Downs YouTube page. Great show today, Raymond. Obviously, we spent, just a pretty memorable conversation with Murat that was finishing up the season. We heard from Kevin Cheveldayoff and Scott Arneal. And the next couple days, we've got a ton from the players. So we'll sort of, go through a number of the stars on the Winnipeg Jets, their reaction as we're locked and loaded, but only have so much time in the day. And obviously had to talk to Murat, get to the coach and GM. Tomorrow, the captain and many of the other players as we continue the week. And, of course, Ken will join us as well.
Yeah, I thought some of the comments from the players, I thought Cole Perfetti was really well-spoken today. Murat mentioned that about his plans for the summer and his season, the growth that he showed. Gabriel Velarde, I think he was really honest about his feelings on the playoffs and about his injury as well. And it didn't sound like he was, 100%. It didn't look like it.
It didn't look like it either.
It didn't look like it either. But he said, look, I did what I had to do to play, and I knew the risks involved. He was asked if it was a back injury, which he said no, and then was asked if it was a shoulder injury, and he didn't respond. So just smiled. Take what you will from that. And Adam Lowry, of course, always nice hearing from the captain. And Dylan DeMello and Dylan Sandberg also spoke as well. And yesterday I did enjoy the comments. We played Appleton. Hayden Fleury, I thought, had nice comments about his first year. Josh Morrissey, we played a couple. Brandon Tanev, I'm curious what the future holds for him. And Luke Shen always is very thoughtful. So there were a number of good comments, and we didn't play a lot of Arneal and Chevy. They spoke for like 40 minutes combined. The Jets have them on their website and on their YouTube, and I know Dave posts them on the Illegal Curve YouTube. So we'll go through lots to dissect. Us early exit feels too soon. We wanted more hockey, but we have a lot of topics that will get us through to the draft. The Jets do have a first-round pick this year, which would be exciting to welcome another player. Well, yeah, I guess for now, yeah. Oh, for now, okay. For now, they have a first-round pick, and the development camp as well is right after. So, hey, it's almost June. We're almost at draft countdown. Still, recapping the season. I'm actually intrigued about the Stanley Cup final. I think if it is a rematch, Florida-Edmonton, really intriguing. And even if Edmonton, I think that would get ratings for sure. I don't know if Carolina does it. Carolina-Dallas, I don't know if there's going to be interest.
ESPN chose Dallas-Edmonton over Florida-Carolina.
Yeah,
for their series. I think the Canes are just a really tough draw. And I'll tell you what, if they keep losing every single time they play in the conference finals, it'll be an even tougher draw. Make it 13 in a row. I thought last night was their opportunity to get that win. They didn't get it. See what happens tomorrow. But tonight, Edmonton, Dallas, who you got?
I'll go Edmonton. I feel like Dallas, in their Colorado series, well, they got outshot and outplayed. Even the end of the year, they've been getting saved by goaltending. I think that McDavid, as you mentioned, I like that 2.5 goals in 7 games. I like that one. He's gonna do for a breakout. They've been they've they've been aided by the bottom of the roster. It's time for McDavid to have a bit of breakout here this series.
I'll give Jake Ottinger all the credit that he deserves for being the best goalie in the series against the Winnipeg Jets, and he was very, very good. I would be completely here for him getting lit up like a Christmas tree tonight. So I will be riding with the Oilers at +110, and I'm on them for this series as well. Folks, that's going to do it for us. Make sure to join us tomorrow. We'll hear from many of your favorite Winnipeg Jets as we continue breaking down the end of the season. And, of course, Ken Weeb's going to join us, too, for a Weeb wrap-up on 24-25 and a look ahead to the offseason as well. Big thanks to all the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day, and all of you for joining us, whether you're on the podcast or joining us live on YouTube. Have a great Wednesday night, whether you're at the ballpark, the track, or just watching the Stars and Oilers. Have a good one, and make sure to join us tomorrow, 1 p.m., because the season may not over, but there's no off season right here on WST. See you tomorrow at 1.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.